This is the engine that is currently in this 72 LTD. I've been asked a couple times, since this engine's only got about 20,000 miles on it, why I don't just use it. Well, it's a 351, but it's a 351 modified, or sometimes called the 400 modified. Anyways, it has some issues with the design of the motor that basically makes it useless for what I want it to do. I'll go through some of the history of the 351M and tell you why. But it's not really fair because this motor has been put through hell. This, as you can see, it's been sitting in the field for a very long time. Even before then, it used to have points, was poorly modified to electronic ignition. They all came with 2 barrels. This one's got an Edelbrock 4-barrel sitting on it, but it was never adjusted right. I actually knew this car from high school because a friend of mine used to drive it back in high school, a long time ago. And that's where a lot of these weird modifications were done, back before I really knew anything about cars. Well, I've ended up with it, and it's been floating around for quite some time. That's why I'm redoing it. This engine is big, it is heavy, and it is low horsepower. It was designed for emissions to push around these really large cars, but get some semblance of gas mileage compared to like the 390s, the 426s, things like that. This one was supposed to get better gas mileage. I'm going to cut over to another one of these motors that's in much better shape to talk about the motor. All right, so we're here at the old farmhouse. Let's get this Cougar. It's a 79 Cougar. It's been about a year since it's been started, but it does run. Oh, these hoods are so heavy. All right, 351. Wait a minute. I don't think this is a modified. Oh no, this is a Windsor, isn't it? Let's see what the tag says. Whale chute. I was going to show you a nice 351 modified, but this happens to be a 351 Windsor. Totally different engine. One way you can tell, obviously, the distance between the valve covers is a lot narrower on the Windsor and the Cleveland than it is on the modified, because the modified has a lot wider block. That's one of the first things you can tell. Obviously there's other things, the shape of the valve cover, keep in mind, and I'll show you on the other one. So yeah, this isn't the right one. Sorry, I guess we're going to go back to that other engine to talk about them. Where's he at? I'm going to get you. Nope.
I told Harmony, I said, do you remember when Moses used to get in there and every time you walked by, she'd grab you? Well, that's what Boots does.
Well, that was a bust. So back to this engine. This is an actual, sorry about the bouncing. This is an actual 351 modified. 351 M400. It's actually 402 cubic inch, but you know, sounds big, but they got it out of a small block that they increased the angle of the wedge in order to get it so that they could get a slightly longer stroke. It's got a 4-inch stroke on a 4-inch piston with an increased deck height in order to get all that, which sounds good, but it also gives you extra long push rods, and all of this gives you the ability to have more torque, but it is a low RPM engine. You're never really going to get a high RPM out of this engine without potentially causing damage because of all that, you know, everything being stretched. Now, the width from here to here is considerably wider than on a on a standard 351 like the Cleveland or Windsor. And that means your intakes aren't interchangeable. The valve covers are different because the heads are different, because the heads are have much smaller valves in them than a standard 351. Again, it was for the gas mileage, but you can tell these valve covers have, what is that, 8 bolts in them, I believe. 1, 2, yeah, 8, and no cutout right here. Whereas the 351 has a cutout here, and the 351 Windsor also has very sharply angled spark plugs, whereas on the modified they go in almost straight. Not quite, they're still angled, but not nearly as aggressively. As a matter of fact, let me come over to my son's engine that he's getting ready to build. Alright, this is a 351 Windsor. As you can see, the spark plugs are quite sharp angled compared to the 351 modified that goes in pretty close to straight. The valve covers, see there's that cutout because there's 2 bolts there, 2 bolts here, 2 bolts there, and then 1 at each end. And so there's not quite as many bolts, and because the head is slightly smaller. And the distance, yeah, engine's been sitting here for a few months because he's getting ready to build his Mustang. Get that out of the way. The distance from here to here is considerably smaller. It's only, what, 10 inches, something like that? I haven't measured it, but it's considerably smaller. This engine can produce a lot more torque, or a lot more RPMs, and you can build it for a lot more horsepower because the strokes aren't as long. You don't have as long and narrow pieces that can break. So yeah, people like this engine much better. And yeah, he's getting ready to tear it down and build it for a Mustang. But me, I'm going to be going with a 4.6 Ford fuel injected. So this engine's coming out. Really don't know what else to say about it. They put a C6 behind it, but this C6 will not fit that other engine because the bell housings are different. It will only fit larger big blocks. So if you had like a 429 or something like that, you could put the C6 on there. Can't even see it. But yeah, these engines only have just a little over 200, 220 horses, something like that. But they've got a considerable amount of torque. And they're specifically designed to pull these gigantic vehicles around with some semblance of gas mileage. I think these things could get in upwards of 18 miles to the gallon, which is pretty impressive for something that weighs this much. They just aren't performance, and that's why it's coming out. I can't do what I want with it with this engine design. This thing's only got 20,000 miles on it. It'll make a good engine if someone's trying to restore a 70s pickup or something. They want to keep it original. But other than that, it's not going to do me any good. I hope that gives you an idea of what the difference is between the modified and the Windsor and the Cleveland. The Cleveland and Windsor are very similar engines. The heads are a little different. They're not too far off from each other. They'll both bolt up to the same transmission. All the brackets fit across them. I mean, so they're pretty close to the same engine. It's this modified that is the dark horse of the whole group, the black sheep. It just doesn't fit anywhere. It's not a big block, and it's not a small block. It's weird. So it's going by the wayside. I'm going to start tearing this car down pretty soon and getting these frames ready to swap everything over. We'll be putting a much lighter engine that can produce more horsepower in here and a frame that doesn't weigh so much either. So we'll be cutting a lot of weight off of this car, hopefully make it able to travel on the highway without being dangerous. Alright, so hope that helps you guys out. If you have any more questions or comments or want to see anything else, just let me know. Thanks.